MSW Media.
News with swearing. Daily beans, daily beans. Daily beans, daily beans.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Beans for Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Today, Donald Trump has directed his cabinet officials to ferret out criminal activity by domestic terror groups using National Security Presidential Memo 7. The White House has sent letters to universities and colleges threatening to withhold federal funding if they don't sign a pledge to support Trump's policies. Trump has declared the United States is in a non-international armed conflict with drug cartels. Jane Fonda has relaunched her father's McCarthy-era free speech initiative. At least 170 U.S. hospitals face major flood risks because of climate change. And newly released documents show Jeffrey Epstein never got kicked out of Wall Street. I'm Allison Gill.
And I'm Dana Goldberg.
We made it to Friday.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! And that means it's Fugelsang Fridays here on the Daily Bean, so I'll be talking to John Fugelsang later. We're going to talk about that Pope quote. I can't believe it. I mean, I can, but like, Dana, how many times have you said, look, you can't be pro-death penalty and pro-life?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is the Pope saying it.
I've been happy so far, as someone who is not of the Catholic faith, at the outside looking in, I have been happy with some of the decisions thus far by the new Pope.
Yeah. And he said it in English. He's an American Pope. John Fugelsang calls him the deep dish Pope. I think that's great.
Yeah, Bob from Chicago.
I think the Cubs are playing right now. He's probably watching the Cubs play the Guardians.
I know he deserves more respect than Bob from Chicago, but for us Jewish people, he's Bob from Chicago.
It's all right. It's totally all right. I think that is actually a very respectful way to refer to someone, having been to Chicago many times. Okay, so we definitely have a lot of news to get to today. I'm going to be reading something from Steve Vladek's Substack. I wanted to let you know I'm going to be reading excerpts of it. You can get the entirety of the post at One First on Substack. It's by Professor Steve Vladek. He's a con law expert, self-proclaimed SCOTUS nerd. He knows what he's talking about. And he wrote a really great piece on NSPM 7, which everybody is very concerned about. So we'll talk about that. And then, of course, we're going to have some good trouble and some listener-submitted good news for you at the end. And so we look forward to that, because the listener-submitted good news on a Friday is always the bomb diggity mo figgity motherfucking shit. I love it. It's so good.
I was about to say something. I was about to wish everyone a happy new year and an easy break to your fast if you do celebrate it. And then you went into the bomb diggity shit. And I'm like, this is still a good transition. Wishing everyone a really peaceful as we can. Those of you that celebrate Yom Kippur, I hope that you were able to break your fast and you had an easy fast. And may we have a peaceful and loving new year ahead.
Yes, very, very well put, my friend. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's hit the hot notes. Hot notes. All right, everybody, first up, this is what I was talking about. This is from Steve Vladek at One First on Substack, and he says, I wanted to use this week's bonus issue to focus on a new executive action that could end up in the Supreme Court, but isn't yet in the pipeline. A memorandum Trump signed last Thursday titled Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence, which reflects a dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's efforts to cast a whole lot of constitutionally protected speech and political activity as unlawful political violence and intimidation. In particular, the memorandum, formerly National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, or NSPM 7, purports to direct the Attorney General, Secretary of Homeland Security, and a host of other cabinet officers to bring significant federal investigative and law enforcement resources to bear in ferreting out alleged criminal activity by, quote, domestic terrorist organizations. There's just one small problem. Although federal law does include a definition of domestic terrorism, Congress, for reasons that are now paying some serious dividends, has assiduously avoided attaching any downstream consequences to the government's assertion that specific behavior meets that definition. Unlike foreign terrorist organizations, for which Congress has created an entire regime of civil and criminal liability, labeling a group as a domestic terror organization exposes it and its supporters to precisely zero additional civil or criminal liability.
Oh, boy.
That's not to say NSPM 7 is harmless or toothless. It's far from it. But in some ways, that's exactly the point. The Trump administration is trying to scare, intimidate, cajole, and harass a wide array of non-governmental and nonprofit organizations into self-censoring, lest they risk triggering the investigations and potential prosecutions the memorandum threatens. NSPM 7 does not create any new crimes, and the government does not need NSPM 7 to investigate any of these groups if there are reasons to believe they've committed crimes that already exist. Thus, the specter of labeling groups domestic terror organizations is an exercise in legally empty but rhetorically dangerous symbolism, one that is trying to coerce more and more individuals and groups to obey in advance, even though there are no new substantive rules that they need to actually obey. The animating principle of the foreign terror organization regime was to make it possible for Congress to impose civil and criminal liability, not just on the foreign terrorists and terrorist organizations themselves, but on anyone who conspired with, aided and abetted, or otherwise provided material support to those organizations. Indeed, even as the Supreme Court in Humanitarian Law Project upheld the statutory prohibitions on providing material support to designated foreign terror organizations, Chief Justice Roberts went out of his way to stress that, quote, "We do not suggest that Congress could extend the same prohibition on material support at issue here to domestic organizations." Of course, the memorandum doesn't require the same processes for such designation of a domestic terrorist organization that federal law requires for designating foreign terrorist organizations, nor does it provide any mechanism by which the designated entity may challenge the Attorney General's designation in court. It's more than a little telling that Al-Qaeda and Hamas are entitled to far more process and judicial review in contesting their designations as terrorist organizations than, say, the ACLU would be in contesting a designation by the Trump administration that it's a domestic terror organization. So, for example, Dana, like if we could legally designate the Proud Boys as a domestic terror organization, then anyone who funded or aided and abetted the Proud Boys on January 6th outside of seditious conspiracy would be in trouble.
Right. For example, if they decided to label the Human Rights Campaign as a terror organization, the fact that I raise money and I perform at these events would incriminate me.
Yeah. And Steve goes on to say, formally, that probably doesn't matter. Attorney General Bondi could designate the New York Mets a domestic terror organization, and nothing legally would change one whit. No new civil or criminal liability would result. No one who supports the Mets, like their disappointed fans, would be subject to new liability that they weren't subject to yesterday. The larger issue is the division and devotion of federal investigative resources towards these groups and the intimidation and chilling of constitutionally protected speech that's almost certain to follow. Put another way, the government already has the power to investigate domestic organizations if there's sufficient reason to believe they're engaged in criminal activity. Hey, Proud Boys, for example.
Yep.
What NSPM 7 does is to underscore that the government will prioritize investigations of these groups for behavior that is not independently unlawful, whether because it genuinely believes it'll find evidence of actual criminal activity or because it doesn't care. It's the highly subjective, judicially unreviewable, and legally immaterial basis for the retasking of federal resources that's the rub. And as bad as all of that would be during any administration, it seems especially onerous coming from an administration that's already shown no compunction about diverting federal resources toward the targeting of political opponents. So you can read all of this. Those are just excerpts. You can read all of Professor Vladek's piece at One First on Substack.
All right. And this one's an exclusive from the Wall Street Journal, because every once in a while something comes out of the Wall Street Journal that we're like, I still think it's some bartering, but that's just my opinion. Jeffrey Epstein never got kicked out of the Wall Street's VIP club. Okay, this is what the reporting says. Epstein's banking and investment activities in the years before his 2019 death, they were more widespread than we previously thought, including accounts at several banks, as well as large transactions with well-known hedge funds. That's according to documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal and people familiar with this matter. Epstein's estate has turned over to Congress a list of more than 20 banks that held accounts for Epstein and entities related to him, according to people familiar with the matter. The House Oversight Committee is expected to subpoena banks for their records, This is what some of the people said. We'll see if that actually happens, because one of the people that's going to get caught up in this is Deutsche Bank, and I'll get to that in a minute. Epstein and Epstein-related entities had accounts with several of those banks in later years, including Wells Fargo, TD Bank, and First Bank Puerto Rico. That's according to those people. JP Morgan Chase has said it closed Epstein's accounts in 2013, and Deutsche Bank said it cut him off in 2018.
Well, we'll only stand for 5 more years of this.
Yep. To date, JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank are the only banks that have been scrutinized by regulators and sued by victims, by the way, over their ties to Epstein. The documents reviewed by the Journal show that in the years before he died, Epstein moved at least $60 million into Honeycomb Partners. That's an investment fund. He received $13.5 million from a hedge fund run by Paul Tudor Jones. And he sold $15 million worth of private company shares of crypto investor Blockchain Capital. So they are starting to follow the money. I'm telling you, this has got its spider web and tentacles into some of the highest people in this country, including, and I am going to say this, some people that may have sat or are sitting on the Supreme Court.
Yep, and Senator Wyden is looking into all of this. He's from Oregon.
I love.
And I have to imagine that's part of the reason he's sending the National Guard to Portland.
Could be.
Because he wants this to stop. Stop looking into my finances. He drew big, bright red lines when Mueller tried to look into his finances. Everybody remembers that. Next up from Reuters, President Trump's administration has asked colleges to sign a deal on some terms, sweeping terms, ranging from foreign enrollment and diversity to ideological values of students and staff in order to get preferential access to federal funds. That's according to a 10-point memo sent on Wednesday by the government. The memo, shared with Reuters by a White House official, demands that schools cap international undergrad enrollment at 15%, ban the use of race or sex in hiring and admissions, freeze tuition for 5 years, require that applicants take the SAT or a similar test, and quell grade inflation. Trump has threatened to cut federal funding for universities over a range of issues like pro-Palestinian protests against U.S. ally Israel's war in Gaza, transgender policies, climate initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility programs. Rights advocates have raised free speech and academic freedoms concerns over actions they say are aimed at aligning universities with Trump's political agenda. You think? The 10-point memo urged viewpoint diversity in faculty, students, and staff, including revising governance structures and transforming or abolishing institutional units that purposefully punish, belittle, and even spark violence against conservative ideas. The memo said foreign students should be supportive, quote, of American and Western values, and urged colleges, quote, to screen out students who demonstrate hostility toward the United States, its allies, or its values. It also says does that include NATO or is it with allies as he talk about Russia?
I would probably go with the latter if we're talking about this guy.
Right. It also says universities should share all known information about foreign students, including discipline records, upon request with the Department of Homeland Security and the State Department. The guidance is likely to raise due process and privacy concerns in light of the Trump administration's recent attempts to deport pro-Palestinian students. The attempts have faced legal challenges. The memo says, quote, no more than 15% of a university's undergrad student population shall be participants in the student visa exchange program, and no more than 5% shall be from any one country. For schools presently over the 15% population, incoming matriculating classes should meet the 15% cap. Letters were sent Wednesday to solicit agreement and feedback from Vanderbilt, Dartmouth, UPenn, University of Southern California, USC, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, University of Texas, University of Arizona, Wildcats, Brown University, and the University of Virginia. That's according to the White House official who wants this story to get out. Universities that sign on will get multiple positive benefits, including substantial and meaningful federal grants. That's what a letter addressed to university leaders says. The Wall Street Journal was first to report this news. So that's just extortion.
Yeah. Ugh. It's just infuriating, everything they're doing, man. Project 2025, we warn the shit out of them.
I know.
Okay, this is from CBS. 170 American hospitals, totaling nearly 30,000 patient beds from coast to coast, they're facing the greatest risk of significant and dangerous flooding. That's according to a months-long KFF Health News investigation based on data provided by Fathom. That's a company considered a leader in flood simulation. At many of the hospitals, flooding from heavy storms has the potential to jeopardize patient care, block access to emergency rooms, and force evacuation. Sometimes there's no other hospital in the area. Much of this risk to hospitals, it's not captured by flood maps issued by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which have served as the nation's de facto tool for flood estimation for half a century, despite being incomplete and sometimes decades out of date. As FEMA's maps have become divorced from the reality of changing climate, private companies like Fathom, they've filled the gap with simulations of future flooding possibilities. But many of their predictions are behind a paywall, leaving the public mostly reliant on free, significantly limited government maps.
Yeah. And I mean,
and we know what they're doing there now.
I mean, I gotta say, these private companies and corporations, like we always say, Trump doesn't think climate change is real. Insurance companies do.
Yeah, they sure do, because they're paying out a lot because no one's doing anything. You've got fires burning down California. You've got floods in North Carolina and Florida and everywhere else. And they're the ones getting fucked. And all of the people, the homeowners, getting sometimes dropped by the insurance companies. So I don't know who's worse in this situation. And this is a quote from the story. This is highly concerning. This is from Caleb Dresser. And Caleb studies climate change and is both an emergency room doctor and a Harvard University assistant professor. So it sounds like Caleb knows what he's talking about. He said, if you don't have the information to know you're at risk, then how can you triage that problem? The investigation, among the first to analyze nationwide hospital flood risk in an area of warming climate and worsening storms, it comes as the administration of Trump has slashed federal agencies that forecast and respond to extreme weather, and also dismantled FEMA programs designed to protect hospitals and other important buildings from these floods. The Trump administration has made deep staff and funding cuts to FEMA, NOAA, and the National Weather Service. At FEMA, the cuts prompted 191 current and former employees to publish a letter in August warning that the agency is being dismantled from within.
Yeah, so probably like job numbers and COVID numbers and now flood maps, we got to rely on private agency to do this.
Yeah.
Because this government is being dismantled and is right now shut down. And from the Associated Press, Trump has declared drug cartels to be unlawful combatants and says the United States is now in a non-international armed conflict, according to a Trump administration memo obtained Thursday by the Associated Press, after recent U.S. strikes on boats in the Caribbean. A person familiar with the matter who's not authorized to comment publicly said the Congress was notified about the designation by Pentagon officials on Wednesday. The move comes after the military last month carried out 3 deadly strikes against alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean. At least 2 of those operations were carried out on vessels that originated from Venezuela. Pentagon officials could not provide a list of the designated terrorist organizations at the center of this conflict, a matter that was a major source of frustration for some of the lawmakers who were briefed, according to the person. So yeah, Trump comes in and says, we're at war, we're with the armed conflict. And the senators are like, with whom? Just, people.
They're going to try everything they can to say that we are at war, because Trump, somewhere in his crazy fucking mind, thinks that he has a right to postpone the midterms if we happen to be at war.
Or there's tons of different kinds of emergency powers he could seize.
Yep.
If we're at war. What the administration laid out at the closed-door classified briefing was perceived by several senators as pursuing a new legal framework that raised questions, particularly regarding the role of Congress in authorizing any such action. As the administration takes aim at vessels in the Caribbean, senators and lawmakers of both major parties have raised stark objections. Some had previously called on Congress to exert its authority under the War Powers Act that would prohibit the administration's strikes unless they were authorized by Congress. And here you go, Dana. It says, by claiming his campaign against drug cartels as an active armed conflict, Trump appears to be claiming extraordinary wartime powers to justify his actions.
Yep. There it is. Always buried.
We're at war with who? Just, people I don't
people.
like.
Santa Claus.
The enemy from without.
This one's from NBC, everybody. Oscar-winning actor and progressive activist Jane Fonda has relaunched the Committee for the First Amendment. That's a free speech initiative originally spearheaded by her father, Hollywood icon Henry Fonda, in response to the rise of McCarthyism during 1940s. The federal government is once again engaged in a coordinated campaign to silence critics in the government, the media, the judiciary, academia, and the entertainment industry. This is what the committee said in a statement, and said, "We refuse to stand by and let that happen." The statement was co-signed by nearly 600 figures in the entertainment industry, including Whoopi Goldberg, Ethan Hawke, Spike Lee, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Aaron Sorkin, Barbra Streisand, Ben Stiller, and Kerry Washington.
I love all them. I love all them.
They're fantastic. Henry Fonda formed the original incarnation of the Committee for the First Amendment in 1947. And during the Second Red Scare is when that was. And that was a period of growing fear about communist infiltration and Soviet Union influence in Washington, Hollywood, and beyond. Wow. Sound familiar? Just not called the Soviet Union anymore.
Yeah, but now Trump is working with the Soviet Union, but still calling us communists.
Yep. Henry Fonda's initiative was supported by some of the most famous stars in that era, like Lucille Ball, Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Gene Kelly, Frank Sinatra, Judy Garland. Man, I wish they were still around. And this is a quote, "I'm 87 years old. I've seen war, repression, protest, and backlash. I've been celebrated. I've been branded an enemy of the state." That's what Jane Fonda said in a statement on Wednesday. "But I can tell you this is the most frightening moment of my life." They're betting on our fear and our silence, she said in her statement without identifying any political figures by name. She said, "But our industry and artists around the world have a long history of refusing to be silenced, even in the darkest times."
Yeah. And let's talk about some of those artists, because I think we were going to talk about this yesterday, but I think we just ran out of time because we had to go over all the shutdown stuff. But the comedians, I think specifically Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., doing this show in Riyadh, and the statements coming out against it, like from David Cross and his statement.
And Mark Maron.
Agree with Mark Maron. It's just, it's gross. Dave Chappelle said today, "I can say things over there that I can't say in the United States."
Right. Just so you all know what's going on, Allison and I are talking about a giant comedy festival that Saudi Arabia is putting on. And if you've been following the news, the Saudis are doing a really, unfortunately, good job of trying to repurpose their branding, if you will. They're taking over things in Hollywood. They really are trying to just get whitewash their legacy, if you will.
Trump helped them with David Pecker and The Inquirer when they put out that big glossy magazine about the great, wonderful new Middle East with these amazing princes and whatnot. So Trump's been working with Saudi Arabia on this whitewashing of them for a very long time.
Which is terrifying. And there is a big comedy festival, and they are paying comedians from the United States upwards of $375,000 to $1.6 million for their sets. And a lot of comedians that I know said no, and for their own reasons, many of which I agree with. And a lot of the other comedians have said yes, and they're getting some flack from all of these people that are like, "Thought you guys were First Amendment warriors. You guys are going to perform in a country that rapes and pillages and their women and, it takes away First Amendment rights and chopped up a journalist, an American journalist. And you're going to go over there." So there's been a lot of talk around this whole comedy festival. And it's really interesting. I heard someone say, and I mean, we can just talk about this because he's very proud of his stance. Kara Swisher's podcast co-host on their podcast. I can't remember his name offhand. I didn't put it to memory, but he's saying that, and listen, I agree with this part. The United States isn't in great shape. Like what we're doing with our trans community and our women and our Black community and voting rights and everything else, and what we're ripping apart, families and having people that are not criminals just disappeared in the middle of the night. Like our country's got some work to do. But his stance was that this actually makes America look a little bit cooler to the rest of the world, right? We got American comedians going over there. I know, Allison. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding. This is using American comedians to make Saudi Arabia look less of a murderous regime. And these American comedians are taking the paycheck and cashing it and just moving on. It's a little mind-blowing.
And the reason we don't look so hot right now is because we're sliding toward what Saudi Arabia is.
Which we've been fighting against.
Direction to go. That's a bad direction to go. And so for Dave Chappelle or whoever to be like, well, I feel like I can say what I want over there. No, the difference is it's not free speech, right? It's how people react to it. The reason you can't be a fucking dickhead to the LGBTQ plus community here in the United States is because people will speak up and speak out against you.
Right.
You can do that in Saudi Arabia because people aren't allowed to speak up and speak out against you. And because they treat their LGBTQ plus community,
they'll applaud it
with such horrific, torturous acts. So it's just, if you get a chance, it's very long. I'm not going to read it here, but go read David Cross and his statement about this.
It's really good.
It is really good. And a lot of people are putting out great statements, but that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think one of the comedians that had gotten booked on it was joking around on his own podcast about the slavery issue in Saudi Arabia. Someone from them heard him joke about that on his podcast. He got his contract pulled.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oh, that's free speech, guys. Not being able to make fun of trans people. Like, anyway, my decision not to spend money to see you is my free speech, and you got to respect it too.
Yeah, it's wild, absolutely wild.
Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I know you and I both have a little bit of history in comedy. So, and I know some people that turn that down as well, and I'm very proud of them.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, somewhere in my head, I'm like, I can change hearts and minds for $1.6 million. My girlfriend would lock me in the house until the date passed if I was even considering something like this.
Yeah, because one of the comedians said, and I don't know if it was Burr or CK or Chappelle, but one of them said that they just paid me enough.
Yeah.
To ignore my issues with Saudi Arabia.
And it had to have been one of them because, like I said, $1.6 million for one gig.
Anyway, I never liked those guys anyway. So,
there's a few sexual predators on the lineup, which is blowing. When I first saw the poster, I thought Bill Cosby was on there. My first thought was, isn't he dead? I thought Bill Cosby died.
Oh.
Is Bill Cosby still alive?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's out of prison. Look, I don't know. Maybe now I feel like I need to look it up. That's how little I care.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if you know how people can make a poster look even worse than it is.
Yeah, no,
by adding, people like that. The first poster I saw, Cosby was on there, so I don't know.
He's here, 88.
Yeah,
still kicking.
Man, oh man.
All right, everybody, it's time for some good trouble.
What are you guys doing?
All right, your good trouble mission today, should you choose to accept it, keep calling your senators. Tell them to hold the line. We'll see how this ends. I really want to force the Republicans to end the filibuster and fund this government themselves. I don't know if a deal is going to be reached. I do know it's bad to have a government shut down. So I don't really know the right answer. But I do want to applaud our senators for holding the line.
Agreed.
On this.
Agreed.
All right. That's it. That's your good trouble. We really appreciate you participating in a good trouble. If you have ideas for good trouble or you want to send in your good news, you can do both of those things at dailybeanspod.com and click on contact. And we'll be back with the good news. But first, we're going to talk to John Fugelsang. Stick around. We'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Friday on the Daily Beans. That means it's Fugelsang Friday. So we're joined by my friend, New York Times bestselling author of the book.
Say it again for the folks in the back. Yes.
Church and Hate. And also host of Tell Me Everything on Sirius XM Progress Channel 127 weeknights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, and the John Fugelsang Show podcast and the Fugel Stack on Substack, which is, I know that's not what it's called, but it should be. Please welcome my good friend, New York Times bestselling author John Fugelsang.
There we go. Hello, Dr. Gill. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for being here. Again, you just keep coming back.
Well, you know what? I'm like white MAGA men shooting other white conservative men. It's going to keep on happening, whether we pay attention to it or not.
Your voice is very, it sounds like a little husky. Are you nursing a cold?
No, I've been doing a lot of media tours for my New York Times bestselling book, now in its third week on the New York Times bestseller list. So I've
even though you talk 3 hours a night, this is still more talking, and it's impacting your voice.
I'm trying to whore myself until I can reach the perfect level of Lauren Bacall in my throat, and that's what I'm working towards. But yeah,
and
so I just
and
doing a
then
lot of,
you can hand it over to her Mercedes Benz to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, like like Rudy Giuliani had to do.
Sure,
he was driving around in Lauren Bacall's Mercedes Benz.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really, I had no idea. Oh,
that was one of the things that was sought in the.
I'm going to choose to believe that Lauren Bacall is in heaven delighted at this development. I had no idea.
I think so too. And he was like, well, I can't just sign over the title. It's got my ex-wife's name on it. You know, he was just doing his bullshit dance. Anyway, what I wanted to talk...
He's always had so much respect for his ex-wives, and that's something I appreciate about him. Straight up. As good as Trump, folks.
Very woman-respecting fellow.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, we're not even done with the lawsuits on this guy. Rudy's going to give us pleasure beyond the grave.
Yes, indeed. All right. So what I want to talk to you about today, I wanted to talk to you about what Pope Leo said this week about immigration. Talk to me about it.
Wow. Yeah, that's my deep dish pontiff right there, man. Southside Leo. You know, I like this Pope a lot. And he came out, and I guess he's been reading my book. I'm going to choose to believe that's the case, because he more or less said exactly what Jesus says in a way. He said, if you are opposed to abortion rights, but you're, I'm paraphrasing, but you support the death penalty, you're not pro-life. Now, right there, you could hear 10,000 American Catholics decide not to give their check in the collection plate this week, right? I mean, the church is a business on some level. And to come out and say you're not pro-life if you support executing people, well, it's very consistent with everything Jesus says in the New Testament, but it's not consistent with how right-wing Catholics and right-wing evangelicals like to view the world. So this was a business decision, right? Like, this was him saying, I don't care if you don't want to hear this. I don't care if you're going to say mean things about me like you did about Francis. If you support governments murdering prisoners, I mean, Jesus overturns eye for an eye in Sermon on the Mount. You're not pro-life. But then he had to go farther. Then he had to set the casino on fire. Then he had to say, also, if you support cruelty to migrants, you don't get to say you're pro-life. We are in an era of really unexpected heroes, Dr. Gill. I mean, I'm rooting for Harvard University. I'm rooting for the bishops. Last week, ABC and Monday Night Football gave the finger to Sinclair in the name of free speech. And we're like, if you won't carry Kimmel, you don't get football. And the bully backed down. And this Pope, it was just like ABC. It was a business choice. He was willing to take a financial hit to stand up for what he believes and to stand up for the Bible. And I will also point out, Jesus is against abusing migrants, and he's against the death penalty. The Bible never condemns abortion. That's why they're legal and free in Israel right now. But this Pope, Dr. Gill, I was deeply impressed that he would say this. And to hear a Pope say it in English is especially moving.
Yeah, because how many times millions of times have you and I said, you can't be pro-death penalty and pro-life. You can't be pro-mass deportation and abuse of migrants and be pro-life. But you and I are not the Pope. This is the Pope. Now, no offense.
And again, like
you,
Jesus, the only sin that bothered Jesus was hypocrisy. That's the sin that Jesus kept calling out. I'm so sorry, Dr. Gill. Please go ahead.
No, that's it. But speaking of football, Bad Bunny going to be the Super Bowl halftime show.
You mean American citizen Bad Bunny?
American citizen Bad Bunny, who was overtly anti-Trump, especially after Tony Hinchcliffe called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage at the big Nazi Madison Square Garden rally. But, he doesn't perform in English. And I just want him to walk out wearing a dress and not speak a lick of English and do a fantastic show. But this is the second time after Kendrick Lamar that the number one viewed by far on television in history. I mean, I think we just beat the moon landing with the last Super Bowl, or we're very close to it.
One of the last one made my top 3 of all time.
Me too.
Prince, U2, Prince, U2 after 9/11, and what Kendrick Lamar did last year, having a literal American flag made out of the backs of black men. I mean, all the metaphor, all the politics,
I just got chills,
all the partying that he did. I mean, you're having Ms. Williams Drake's ex Crip stop during Not Like Us. We could just, the set was designed like a Nintendo game player. We could talk about it for days. It was such stagecraft. The Bad Bunny thing, I mean, again, this is like Monday Night Football saying to Sinclair, we don't really care anymore. You fake Christians and your powerful, mean minority don't run this country. You don't get to control the airwaves. The airwaves belong to all of us. And if your subscribers don't like the Kimmel Show, then by God, they should not watch it and should never be forced to. So I just think it's dynamite to see capitalism standing up in such a way. And I've said to you for a while now, don't keep looking for MAGA working class people to wake up to this guy. Start watching the oligarchs. Start watching big business and other billionaires like Rupert Murdoch brushing off his $22 billion lawsuit and the very next day revealing that Pam Bondi told him he was in the Epstein files back in May. Like, billionaires aren't scared of this guy. The Catholic Church and the bishops aren't scared of this guy. Harvard University is not scared of this guy. Monday Night Football and Disney are not scared of this guy. Democrats, take note. We got some real confusing heroes here, and I'm all in for it because it's going to take an all of the above approach for the next year and a half, at least the next 14 months or 13 months now. I don't 12. 13 months. Yeah.
And it is interesting because you hear arguments between folks trying to define what the difference between a leftist and a liberal and a progressive and a democratic socialist and a centrist and a never-Trumper. Yeah. And all I could keep thinking in my head is billionaires don't give a fuck.
They don't care.
You're all the same to them. You are human capital stock to be exploited for one way or another. And they don't care about your differences. In fact, they love that you have them.
Donald Trump also is just not good for capitalism. He's greedy and dirty. And again, he's like Vladimir Putin. He doesn't believe in democracy or capitalism. And people need to realize this. He is anti-capitalist. He goes after private industry. He cheats. He doesn't play by the rules. He
wants the government to own giant chunks of private corporations.
He is going beyond anything Bernie Sanders ever pitched, wanting to nationalize corporations. And as evil as Wall Street is, there's certain interesting things to keep in mind. Wall Street doesn't care about undocumented labor. That's good for America's bottom line, exploiting all those people. Wall Street doesn't care about gay marriage. Wall Street doesn't care about culture war issues. Like, Wall Street really doesn't want tariffs. Donald Trump is bad for business, and Walmart shoppers are learning that more and more every day.
Yeah, they really are, and that's such a good point. And I'm glad you raised it. And, because right now, as you know, as the world turns, we are in the middle of a Trump shutdown, a Trump and Republican shutdown. They are pulling out all the stops to send out all the propaganda to as many people as they can that the Democrats, and they're using the corporate media to do this as well, that the Democrats are somehow responsible for what's going on, as though Donald Trump I saw Mike Johnson today say Donald Trump hates to have to do this, and Russ Vought abhors having to do this and make these cuts to these programs, when just yesterday I saw Mike Lee saying this is Russ Vought's wet dream.
Exactly.
He has had this dream since puberty to be able to do this, and he's going to do it anyway, whether the government is shut down or not. But now they can try to propagandize it and put it on the backs of the Democrats and the Democratic Party, and that's all that's all this is.
Well, there's three basic levels to their lie here, if you'll indulge me, because this is, for months these guys voted down deals to avoid a shutdown. This is what they want, okay? And yet this shutdown is different from every other Republican shutdown because they really want this one. Donald Trump told them to let this shutdown happen. This is not about furloughs. It's about firing. Now, on the surface, they're saying, the radical left's outrageous wish list is to extend, it's healthcare, keeping Americans alive. That's socialism now. And the Democrats' demand is really simple. Your listeners know it. Extend the ACA tax credits that keep insurance affordable for 20 million of us. Undo the Medicaid cuts that would kick 10 million people uninsured. That's the whole ask. But Republicans can't admit that they want to take health care away from American citizens, and they are trying to take health care away from American citizens, so they have to lie that it's about illegal aliens. Okay, that's the first level of it. Illegal aliens they cannot get Medicaid. They cannot get ACA subsidies. They cannot sign up for federally funded health insurance, you racist twits. Imagine being so evil you make insulin a partisan issue, right? Republicans don't want you to have health care. They want you to have GoFundMes. They think your doctor should be a guy named Chad with a Venmo, okay? They think healthcare is a raffle, not a right. But that's the same old xenophobic garbage. But it's deeper than that, because then they're saying, well, Democrats, it's not that we're throwing $20 million off healthcare. Why are you siding with big insurance? That's their new lie, right? Like, why are you siding with the big, like Ted Bundy telling his victims, why are you siding with shallow graves? Because you put me here. And again, Republican president, Republican House, Republican Senate setting their kitchen on fire and suing the fire department for lighting it. Did you see the on HUD, the HUD website? HUD.gov has a pop-up ad, like a pop-up ad blaming the like it's the same tech as a Russian porn site, blaming the Democrats. And these Republicans, $1 trillion out of Medicaid right after next year's election. They want to cut $500 billion out of Medicare next year. The Obamacare cuts are starting right now, and the tax cuts for billionaires will never be shut down. So federal workers, 20% are black. Georgia, it's 40%. For so many, those are the few steady ladders into the middle class. For veterans as well. Contractors, cafeteria workers, janitors, security guards, they're not going to get back pay because you're right. Russell Vogt is already planning this Black Friday sale for authoritarianism. They're going to cut anything, quote, not consistent with the president's priorities, which means if it helps children, if it helps workers, if it helps non-white people, you're not consistent with his priorities.
The list is out there. SNAP, gone. WIC, gone. Your paychecks, gone. And you only get back pay if I decide to bring you back. What we're continuing doing, we're going to keep sending you your student debt bills. Yeah. Which we stopped from the relief on that by suing Joe Biden. So we're going to keep the part of the government open that drills for oil and builds coal plants.
That's it.
We're going to keep so it's
not gridlock, it's sabotage. And by the way, this also means Bureau of Labor Statistics will shut down. So no more unemployment numbers because Donald Trump is tired of losing his war with math. They don't want to reopen the government until there's not much government left to reopen. And Trump said it out loud. He said, when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs, and they're Democrats. Like he's a Bond villain monologuing his evil plot.
Shutdowns can be good because I get to get rid of stuff.
I will lay off 500,000 cafeteria workers because they'll be Democrats, and I'm telling you this in advance because I'm smart. I mean, this is what he's doing. This is the troops in Portland trying to get control over universities, control over elections ahead of next year. This is why they wanted to shut it down. And he just happens to enjoy destroying the lives of career public servants. That's like porn for him. But the whole mission has always been to gut the government and keep their own essential health care. Your health care is a wish list. I mean, it's the captain of the Titanic setting the lifeboats on fire. They want you sick. They want you broke. They want you scared. They want you angry. And they want you blaming the people with the least power instead of this orange monstrosity who's telling you to go bugger yourself. It's all on purpose.
Absolutely. And I am, for one, very glad that Chuck Schumer and 7 Democrats didn't vote for cloture, even though, like I said, the Republicans can do this on their own without any Democrats. And they've always been able to. They do not want to. If they really wanted to fund the government, they could without us. They do not want to.
They don't want to.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
On purpose. Thank you. We didn't even get to talk about Pete Hegseth saving us, but maybe next week we can talk about his little Patton cosplay pageant because that was fun. I just want your thoughts on that, Dr. Gill. I thought about you the whole time. That was like a TED Talk for fascism sponsored by Monster Energy and Viagra. I mean, I didn't even understand that thing.
Just the poor generals in the room. Just like, what?
Oh,
having an 04 drunk ass Fox News guy who just got out of his $200,000 makeup room.
Right?
Come and tell them that they're not fit enough.
And to denigrate the service of women? To denigrate the service of women in front of these generals? I mean, I love how quiet they were. That was the greatest act of resistance I have seen this year.
They have to be quiet, but yeah.
They have to be, but everyone's got to watch it because Trump and douchebag are expecting a big pep rally like it's Charlie Kirk's funeral. And instead, these are dignified men who aren't coming to play. And it's like...
Well, didn't Trump say, loosen up, you can clap a little bit or whatever.
He suggested they lose their pensions. He suggested losing their pensions on the way out. I mean, and Hegseth, who looks like a melted G.I. Joe doll, and he's sitting there telling these guys, I don't want to have fat generals. And then they bring on this human cargo ship that's Donald Trump, who looks like a beanbag chair after he's berating them for being fat. And the whole time,
5 times deferment.
And the generals are so quiet, you can hear Trump's arteries harden in the room. It's amazing to watch. I was so inspired by how they did not just... Because, there could have been a lot of oorahs here. There could have been a lot of oorahs. And there were not.
But yeah, you can hear the cankles filling.
You could hear it. I mean, when he attacks women in the armed forces and the generals are silent.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I'll put another week between me and that to talk about, taking away whistleblower stuff and taking away the combat MOSs for women and all that other stuff. We'll talk more about it.
Please let me know because I'd love to hear
some of that gets solidified. So, yeah, because, that's going to come quickly. They're instituting the polygraph tests and NDAs for most of Pentagon officials and we'll see where this all shakes out, and we'll talk about that more next week.
I mean, he's Secretary of Defense against women who file HR complaints. That's what his little weasel act is, and I thank you all the more for your service and for all the good that you do by shining a light on this, Michigas. Thank you for inspiring me.
Well, thank you, and thanks for your book. Everybody check it out. It's called The Separation of Church and Hate. New York Times bestseller. You don't want to miss this one. Everyone I've talked to is like, I can't put it down. It is so good. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be it's a great holiday gift. It is, believe it or not. And so I buy like 10 books at a time from my local independent and just wrap them all up. And I don't know what book is what book, but I just hand them all out at the holidays. So I really appreciate yours. It's really well written and I love it. I got my copy, as you know, and I chewed through it. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for telling me everything on Sirius XM Progress Channel 127. You can catch that weeknights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. You can also check out the John Fugelsang Show podcast if you don't have Sirius XM. And you can also check out the Substack that John writes. And if he ever gets a chance to sleep, maybe there'll be a lull in the amount of content he puts out, but
playing Zanies in Chicago next Wednesday, the 8th. Come on down, 7 p.m. with every ticket. There's a free hardcover book, and the book is in its second printing, so it's almost impossible to find hardcover books right now. We are sold out for the next month. Yeah, I'm doing Zanies in Chicago, and then doing the Nation Cruise, and then I'm going to headline at the Freedom from Religion Foundation Convention in Myrtle Beach on the 18th, and then I'll be playing Union Stage in D.C. on November 12th. So, yeah, I'm exhausted and going back on the road.
Remember the little people.
Oh, thank you very much. You are the big person who lets me come here and talk to your audience. And I want to thank your audience one more time for all the great comments and all the very kind reviews for the book. I am very honored that you will come here and let me drag this down to my level every week, Allison. Thank you again.
It's my pleasure, my friend. Everybody, please make sure you check out John and all of those places I mentioned. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the good news. Everybody, welcome back. It's time for the good news.
Good news, everyone. Then good news, everyone.
Good news. And like always, if you have any good news, big or small, recent or in the distant past, send it to us. We want to hear from you. You can also send us a shout out to a loved one or yourself. We love self shout outs. A small business in your area that could use a boost, or a nonprofit that you want to draw some attention to. We would love to hear from you about those as well. You can give a shout out to a government program that's helped you or a loved one. If you've got some student debt relief, we would love to hear that story about how it's helped you and your family. Really anything at all, any little bit of good news, you can send it to us at dailybeanspod.com and click on contact. And to get your stuff read on the air, you just got to attach a photo, really. Pay your pod pet tariff by attaching a photo of your pet. If you don't have a pet, you can send an adoptable pet in your area, or really literally just grab a random animal photo off the internet. That works. Bird watching photos can be an actual bird, or you and your family and friends flipping the bird to Trump buildings or Tesla dealerships. We love those. Or, maybe your Republican congressman has a poster up and you draw a little Van Dyke mustache on him and flip him the bird. We would love to see it. We would love to see it. Again, send it all to us. And seriously, if you have other pictures too that you want to send in of like you and your friends writing postcards or being at a rally, No Kings 2 is coming up on the 18th, or maybe your garden or your knitting or your project, your hobby, send it all to us. dailybeanspod.com. Click on contact. All right. First up from Anonymous, pronoun she and her. More of a clarification than a correction. I work in a deep red state for WIC. WIC was listed on the 10-2 pod as being closed, which it is, but isn't. It's more of a state-by-state thing, so individuals needing to check the WIC nearest them in their state about their status. In my state, we have funds to still issue WIC benefits as normal at this time. We're still in our clinics and helping our clients like normal, and their benefits are still accepting WIC at WIC-approved stores. Business as usual. This is only because our state has funds available, but that could be different in your state. We have not been told yet how long these on-hand funds are estimated to last. The last shutdown, 2019, we were in the same situation, and they estimated that our program could run as usual was about a month. We never got to that point last time. WIC is actually a grant. The funds from USDA are given to the states as a grant. The states then distribute those funds in grants to the counties that run the programs in the areas in their states. So yes, it's closed because the USDA isn't sending monthly funds to the states, but the states may have funds from previous months left over to still be able to function. I could ramble on forever with how crazy it is, but I'll spare you unless you want more info, LOL. My tariff is a photo. That's like my whole life. I'm like, I could tell you so much right now about some shit you don't give a shit about, but you let me know. But I actually do give a shit about this because WIC is so important. And I know a lot of states do have backup funds to support this. So that's a really, really good clarification. My tariff is a photo of one of the wallabies that my cousin in Tasmania, Australia, feeds daily that cuts through his backyard that I saw on my month-long trip there this spring. Look at the wallaby.
Oh my gosh, how cute.
Oh, dude. Can you pet them? Probably not. It's probably a bad idea. Anyway,
maybe when
thank
they're
you, Anonymous.
babies. All right. This is from Julie, pronoun she and her. Leguminati Queens. Hello from West Michigan.
Hello.
Thank you so much for all you do. It really cannot be overstated just how much ledge talking you do. I love that, ledge talking. If anyone in this godforsaken country should be getting the Nobel Peace Prize, it should be the two of you. I have some truly good news and a shameless plug. In 2020, our local school board was attacked by a Moms of Liberty group. They bitched about everything, masks, books, bathrooms, you name it. They were coming to the school board meeting to bitch about it. Our school board weathered the storm extremely patiently and by implementing a resident or parent of enrolled child approach to who could address the school board. Very smart.
Yes.
All the out-of-towners went home and we were left with one lady who still comes to every meeting with her 3-minute bitch fest and her Moms for Liberty printouts. This woman even tried to get hired as a sub, and when she wasn't allowed to sub, she sued the district. This morning, we all woke up to this delightful surprise, and this is what it says. Federal court tosses Moms for Liberty Associates case against Lowell area schools.
Womp,
We're going to have a
womp.
link to the story in the show notes. You can Google just how batshit crazy this story is. The drama this woman brings is truly shocking. It is far from over, but this is a definite step in the right direction. Sometimes the resistance shows up on national TV, and sometimes the resistance is listening to Moms for Liberty ladies bitch 5 years and holding the fucking line anyway. They haven't backed down in one single thing. Their bathroom policy still stands.
Ugh.
For Pod Pet Tax, I submit Junior, who hates getting his picture taken. Thanks for all you do. That is some fucking side eye from Junior.
Dude, Junior looks like my booba who passed away. Beautiful boy. Thank you so much. That is good news. Federal court tosses Moms for Liberty Associates case against Lowell area schools. Link in the show notes. Thank you, Julie. All right, next up from Barbara M. I adopted Jank's Spirit a little over 3 months ago. At 1 year and 2 months old, he was and remains a big boy. When his diet began on September 1st, he was 16 pounds. As of October 1st, he's lost a full pound, weighing in at 15 on the nose. He got a big diet-busting treat as a reward for all his hard work, but unfortunately, I think a couple more pounds needs to go. He disagrees and is seeking a second opinion. Well, Jank's Spirit, I say eat all the food you want, but I am a free feeder cat mom, so
No.
Look at this sweet baby. That tile floor is rad, by the way. The tiny little black hex tiles.
It is
very cool.
I love the subway tiles. No, those are probably even called something else. Anyway, they're very cool. Very cool. All right. This is from Missy, pronouns she and her. Hello, AG and DG. First and foremost, thank you for keeping me sane during these interesting times. I wanted to give a mini shout out to a really great science-based event I've been working tirelessly on for the past few months, the Ohio Bat Fest, taking place on October 25th. Of course it is. We are researchers with a passion for bats and other wildlife, and we're hosting this free event here in Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati. It's all about celebrating bats and science and giving community members the opportunity to get hands-on with the tools we use and to meet a real live bat. Plus, there is cool bat swag, with all donations helping to keep this event running and to support some of the projects we do in Ohio and the surrounding area. I am geeking out just writing this.
I feel like you should put like an upside down Stephen Miller in there, but that's like rude to the bats.
I know. Our goal is to connect the community with these often misunderstood animals and inspire appreciation for bats and the important role they play in our ecosystems. Who doesn't love bats?
I love bats.
Yep. For more information, link in the show notes. For my pet tags, I've included my first cat, Catman. He was the coolest cat, my soulmate, in a small furry body. I picked him up from a farm in Pennsylvania when I was working on my master's, and boy, did he have some great adventures together. After 10 short years, I sadly had to put him down due to cancer, which also took my mom, so fuck cancer. Please enjoy these cute and silly photos of him.
Oh, what a sweet baby. Okay, Ohio Bat Fest. Everyone, you can go to ohiobatlab.com/ohiobatfest. I love bats. Do it. I have a tank top that says "Release the bats, release them now." Oh my gosh, Missy, that's amazing. Very cool. Thank you for that. All right, a couple jokes here. Paula has a couple of jokes. Why did the turtle cross the road to go to the Shell station? What is brown and
hold on? You got to give that more time to sit. That's fucking hilarious. Okay, keep going.
What is brown and sticky? A stick. And some dad jokes. Sharing my favorite joke. Why was the sand wet? Because the seaweed.
Cute.
Please enjoy this silly meme with the cute dog. This is a wiener retriever, just like your mom.
Oh my God. Okay, also, everyone, if this is a real dog, a wiener retriever is about the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
sure your mom is too.
It's like that wiener doodle we saw the other day.
Oh, my God.
I think that was actually yesterday that I saw that wiener doodle.
It's so good.
It's a wiener retriever like your mom. That's like the wiener pit, the pit bull wiener dog. It's a wiener pit like your mom. Okay. I love a good mom joke. So no offense to anyone's mom or if you're a mom or my mom. I just love a good your mom joke because I'm Gen X. What do you want from me? All right. Thank you everyone so much. That was a wonderful Friday good news roundup. Please send us all your good news. dailybeanspod.com and click on contact. All the regular stuff will be going on this weekend. You know what shows we do and when we do them. So check them out. Make sure to listen. And do you have any final thoughts before we go into the weekend, my friend?
I'm just wishing you all a good weekend. I do this almost every time I have a final thought because I don't have many, but just really be kind to yourself. Take a break this weekend. Go outside, get some fresh air, find something beautiful, be nice to a stranger. It's shocking what you can do to make strangers day better by literally smiling at them. And listen, don't make it weird, but I am a compliment person. Like if I see someone that it looks amazing, it is really just like, I hope it's okay to say this. You look fantastic today. Just be classy, But man, people every once in a while, that unexpected compliment really lights somebody up.
Yeah, I love to do it. If I see something and I think in my head, I love that, I want to say it out loud.
Yeah, me too.
I really do. It really can make somebody's day. And everybody needs to microdose that hope. So in that vein, please send us all your good news. Again, it's dailybeanspod.com and click on contact. All right, everybody, we'll be back in your ears on Monday. Until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and take care of your family. I've been AG.
I've been DG.
And them's the beans. The Daily Beans is written and executive produced by Allison Gill with additional research and reporting by Dana Goldberg. Sound design and editing is by Desiree McFarlane. with art and web design by Joel Reeder with Moxie Design Studios. Music for The Daily Beans is written and performed by They Might Be Giants, and the show is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, please visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.